Let's go to our next caller right off the bat. Sue, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Bill.
I nearly said good morning. You know. It's starting to sound like a bit like a politician.
Oh, no, that's just bad now, Bill. You're going backwards now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I'm calling tonight as, what will I call it, Sue Citizen.
Sue Citizen.
Oh, yeah, it's going to have to be Sue Citizen.
That's the Sue I like. I like the Sue Citizen who took on the Wells administration and defeated their initiative to privatize Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro. That's the Sioux Citizen I like.
Well, that's the one that's on tonight.
Okay.
It isn't Premier Wells.
Who's it?
It is Premier Dunderdale.
Okay.
I really want to, Bill, and I know there's been a lot of public discourse on the Muskrat Falls.
Yeah.
A lot of people asking significant questions, as you pointed out.
And myself, I thought it was a great deal when they came up with the first. And geez, they've allowed so many questions to dangle and twist in the wind. I can't believe it.
Mine is, and as you probably know, Bill, I've probably spent my adult life studying, researching, watching all parts of our energy sector, particularly as it relates to hydroelectric energy.
Right.
And I can tell you there's some fundamental flaws to the point where it has me as riled up as the privatization of hydro. And probably a little bit worse.
Okay, tell us why, Sue.
I'm looking at this deal and going back in our history, and you'll remember some of this in the 70s, and late 60s, early 70s, when we started to electrify the province, and we were doing things like Betasphere and so on, and putting these tremendous assets on, which we've since paid off.
Yes.
We were floating around with a population of about 580,000.
More than we have today.
Well, yes, I think we're about 507, so we've lost about 80,000 of them.
That's right.
We'll get into that another night.
Yes.
But in looking at that, and then also the reduction of industry, which is heavy energy, so that would be paper mills, fish plants, and so on. There's been a total reduction of that. Add to that most things now are energy efficient, and I have no evidence whatsoever that the power needs are going to grow the way the government claims are going to grow.
What do you mean, here in this province or anywhere?
No, here in this province.
Yeah, here in this province, gotcha.
On the island portion.
Yep, gotcha.
I do not see the evidence of it. And I'll tell you, for all of the time, and I go back to the 70s again, where the Lower Churchill has been discussed as, we must do it. I've got a piece of paper in the 70s that tells me we're going to run out of power by the 80s. A piece of paper in the early 80s saying we're going to run out by the mid-80s. Piece of paper that says the mid-80s we're going to run out by the 90s. 90s going to run out by the 2000. Yeah. And now we're at it again. There's no evidence of this.
Okay, so none of these dire predictions have come true.
Not one, and they're all technical papers. They're all coming from the same energy corporation. They're all coming from the same experts.
Well,
it has not happened. And the other thing, and the most troubling thing, is never when we have discussed the development of the Lower Churchill have we done so where the primary reason to do it is to take 200 or 300 megawatts off from Holyrood.
Yeah.
It's always been a development industrially related in some instances. In other instances, is to go down to supply New York with power. Other instances to go to Quebec. But never has it been to take Holyrood off.
Right.
It's not $6 billion to take Holyrood off is not explainable. Increasing electricity rates the way they're talking about increasing electricity rates is not on. I mean, I've never seen, in fact, Bill, a worse deal.
Okay, just stopping there for a moment, Sue, and forgetting about the reason for developing Muskrat Falls. I realize it's pretty hard to divorce cause and effect here, but forget about the reason, the touted reason by the politicos for doing it, and just look at it as a free-flowing green asset that developed would be a tremendous economic asset for this province, whatever you ultimately do with the power. Does that make any sense, standing on its own legs?
If the deal was right. This one here does not show economic prowess.
Okay.
If you were to develop the Lower Churchill, and the purpose of the development was to advance society in a typical way that Quebec has done, as an example, what we would be doing, Bill, is plugging it into industry.
Right.
So if you're going to develop let's say 1,000 megawatts of power. You put an aluminum smelter there, that's 1,000 megawatts of power and 1,500 permanent jobs.
Right.
That's an advancement of society. I can tell you this, I feel no desire to green up Canada, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
We green them up with 5,000 megawatts from the Upper Churchill.
Yeah, that's
We've got more greening up done per capita than any other province in this country.
Do we have to watch it, Sue? And I know that you're very rational in dealing with these issues. Do we have to watch it that because of the hosing we got on the Upper Churchill, that we can't lay that to one side and wait for the term to run out and then do our thing? Lay it to one side and stop thinking in terms of cutting off our nose to spite our face because of resentment over the Upper Churchill, and just go with the Lower Churchill and develop it as a viable economic project. Does that make any sense?
I have no issue with it. In fact, I always say Quebec made a good deal.
Sure they did.
They did.
We were the fools, not
yes,
them.
we were. We were the fools, and we're about to do it twice.
Okay.
And that's my concern. It's not a matter of what has taken place. It's a matter of what's about to take place.
Okay.
If this economic development had some purpose for our own society, and if we weren't going to do things like subsidize power to our competitive neighbor Nova Scotia.
Yeah, which is already the capital of Atlantic Canada, and we're sort of almost a wart on their backside, you might say.
I'm watching New Brunswick and Nova Scotia calling themselves energy warehouses from our energy warehouse.
So
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's when we're talking about having, and you and I both know this, the most viable clean energy in this country. Mm-hmm. No one has a problem selling power. Mm-hmm. It's what you can use the power for. Mm-hmm. Every other jurisdiction that has this type of hydro, that's Norway, Iceland, Greenland, Russia, Quebec, all of which have industry plugged into it. Mm-hmm. Every time we talk about hydropower, it's to be sold raw, ship it out as quick as we can ship it out, and have no long-term benefits. The question is this, Bill. If we're going to ship out all the power, what are we thinking is going to be industrial development for our province? Well,
good points, Sue. Really interesting points. This is an objection on general principles to what you're saying, not based on evidence or anything, but I find it hard to believe that intelligent people, not necessarily in the cabinet now, but intelligent people with Nalcor would be doing something which is characterized by you and others is so out to lunch. I mean, how do I get my head around that? Why would they be that stupid?
Bill, I go back to the same setup as the privatization.
Yeah.
They lined themselves up to be privatized, the corporation.
Right. Okay.
And so all the geniuses that were doing that is no different here. I mean, this is not like, it hasn't happened before. It happened not that long ago.
Yeah.
And until I see evidence, like for instance, Bill, if I'm going to subsidize power for Nova Scotia, why don't I keep it in Labrador, take the same amount of subsidy I was going to give to Nova Scotia, reduce it up there and plug an industry into it, you'd have them crawling over Labrador.
Yeah, interesting.
Why would you ship it to Nova Scotia? What is the purpose? If you have the best energy resource in North America, which is what they claim it to be, why is it you can't attract industry with it? Why must you ship that out?
All right, well, Sue, big issues. We got to go to a break now, but listen, I'm glad you have joined us in your with your citizens' cape on, so to speak.
Yes.
And I hope you will do it frequently in the future. These are great issues, and knowing your background and knowing the way you've dug into this and have thought about it and considered it, I think we can all, certainly myself included, we can all get great value out of listening to your points.
Well, thank you for that, Bill. We all need to participate, I think.
And you may stimulate some comments from people who don't agree with you as well, Sue, which we'd all benefit from as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Bill.
Great talking to you.
You too.
Bye-bye. Sue, back in fighting form in terms of the electrical power of our province, took on a government and defeated them on privatization of Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro, you'll recall, she and others. She spearheaded it, and now she's fit to be tied on the Lower Churchill. We'll see where that goes and how that develops as the wind gets in her sails, so to speak.